Hi everyone, happy Monday. Here's Kalia. She wanted to join the reading party today. So today, she's giving me kisses. We're reading chapters 11 and 12 of our book. So let's see what happens. We're on chapter 11, The Crystal Cave. It says, "The secret door," whispered Jack. "Yes," said Annie. Jack dropped the compass into his pack. Then him and Annie scrambled through the bushes and climbed up the rocks to the door. Annie took Sir Lancelot's glass key from around her neck. She slipped the key into the keyhole, and she turned the key slowly. Clink! "Yippee!" said Annie softly, and she pushed open the door. Beyond the door was a huge glittering cave. The floor, walls, and ceiling were made of clear crystal. Jack and Annie stepped inside. The cave was filled with dancing streams of purple light. "It's so bright," whispered Jack. "Where's all the purple light coming from?" "There," said Annie. She pointed to a crack on the far side of the cave. "Let's look." They crossed the cave and peered through the crack into a room. Along the brilliant crystal walls of the room were 4 doorways. In the far corner of the room, there was a fire. The fire blazed with leaping purple flames. Over the flames hung a huge, gleaming, golden cauldron. "There's the cauldron," whispered Jack. "Wow," whispered Annie. The cauldron with the water of memory and imagination," whispered Jack. "I know," whispered Annie. "Let's go." They squeezed through the crack, then walked toward the gleaming cauldron. Jack reached into his pack and pulled out Sir Galahad's silver cup. "The cauldron's too high," said Annie. "We can't get into the water." "Here, take this," said Jack, handing her the cup. "Climb on to my back." So he bent over, and Annie climbed onto his back like a piggyback ride. Jack stood up shakily. "Hurry," he said. "You're really heavy." "I can't reach it," said Annie. "Move closer." Jack staggered forward a few steps. Stretching as far as she could, Annie reached again. She skimmed the water from the top of the bubbling cauldron, filling the silver cup. "I got it," she whispered. "Now set me down slowly." Annie held the cup with both hands, and Jack slowly bent his knees, and Annie climbed carefully off his back. They stared silently for a moment at the water of memory and imagination in the cup. The water was clear and it was shimmering. "Now we can save Morgan," said Annie. Just then Jack smelled something strange. It smelled like rotten seaweed. He heard weird gurgling sounds behind him, so he turned around, and a giant, slimy, mud-colored creature crawled out through one of the doorways. The creature was long and scaly like a crocodile, but much, much bigger. It had wings that looked like they'd been spun from 1,000 spider webs. It had glowing red eyes and long curled claws. Oh my goodness, friends. Look at that. It kind of looks like a dragon to me. What do you think? Ooh, look how tall that cauldron was. They did have to reach up high. The creature opened its huge jaws. Strands of drool dripped from its sharp pointed teeth. The creature hissed, and a hot blue flame shot out from its mouth. Another monster crawled through a different doorway, quickly followed by a third, and then a fourth. "Yikes," said Annie. "These are the real keepers of the cauldron," whispered Jack. Dun, dun, dun. That takes us to chapter 12, called Fire with Fire. The 4 real keepers of the cauldron crawled closer to Annie and Jack, hissing and snorting blue fire. "Oh, what do we do now?" whispered Annie. "I don't know," said Jack. "We're trapped." "I have an idea," said Annie. "Let's drink the water." "What?" "Well, it's the water of memory and imagination, right? So maybe if we drink it, we can imagine a way to escape." "That's crazy," said Jack. The keepers crawled closer, snorting more blue flames and filling the air with their rotten stench. "Okay, let's try it," said Jack. Annie took a sip from the silver cup, then handed it to Jack. His hands were trembling as he held the cup. Then he took a sip. The water tasted sweet, bitter, and spicy, all at the same time. Jack gave the cup back to Annie. "Now imagine we're saved," she said. Jack closed his eyes. He tried to imagine being saved. He pictured the 4 keepers crawling back through their doorways. "Okay, are you ready to fight?" said Annie. Jack opened his eyes. "What? Fight?" Annie set the silver cup on the floor. "Now," she said. Suddenly, Jack felt like he'd been hit by a bolt of lightning. His fears slipped away. He was filled with strength and fury. Without even thinking, he lunged with Annie toward the fire under the cauldron. They each grabbed 2 long branches. Look, here they are. Looks like they're getting their branches with fire, and they're fighting those dragon creatures. So we got the branches from the edge of the fire. Then they raised them high in the air. The branches were blazing with purple fire like they were flaming swords. Ah! Jack and Annie shouted. The 4 keepers hissed louder than before. Great balls of blue fire exploded from their mouths and their nostrils. Jack and Annie slashed the air with their fiery weapons, jabbing at the keepers. They fought with the fire, blue flame with purple flame. Back, back, they shouted. With each jab and shout, Jack felt stronger and braver. He was waving his burning branches, and him and Annie kept driving the keepers towards the wall. Get back! Get back! The keepers' blue flames started getting weaker and weaker, almost as if they were running out of fuel. Finally, one by one, each keeper slunk back into the doorway from which it had come. When all the keepers had disappeared, Jack and Annie placed a burning branch in front of each of the 4 doorways to keep the monsters from coming back out. Then they brushed off their hands. Let's go, said Annie coolly. Jack nodded. Annie carefully picked up the silver cup of water from the cauldron. Then she and Jack squeezed through the narrow crack and strode through the bright crystal cave. They stepped out into the daylight. The glass key was still in the keyhole. So Jack calmly locked the door behind them and he handed the key to Annie. Then Jack's knees gave way and he sank to the ground. Dun, dun, dun! Friends, that takes us to chapter 13 called Your Horses Are Waiting. And you'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out what happens. I hope you enjoyed these chapters. This book's getting very interesting. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.